Hello everyone, I'm Jiteng, and I'm currently a PhD student from UC San Diego. I will present our work A-SDF, Learning Disentangled Sign Distance Functions for Articulated Shape Representation. This is a joint work with Weichao, Adam, Alan, Nuno, and Xiaolong. Our world is populated with articulated objects. Modeling articulated objects has wide applications, such as in robotic manipulation and augmented reality. Take robotic grasping as an example. Suppose a robot is tasked with grasping some drinks from the refrigerator. In order to open or close the door, it's essential to understand each articulated part of the refrigerator, such as the 3D shape of each door and how this door can be articulated. So what are the existing approaches for modeling articulated objects? Parametric models have been widely applied to represent articulated shapes, such as SMPL for human bodies and MANO for human hands. However, such parametric models require substantial efforts from experts to construct and usually assumes a consistent skeleton for each model. Therefore, it's hard to generalize this approach to large-scale object categories. Compared to modeling humans, modeling general daily articulated objects has received less attention. So in this work, we try to answer the question, what's a suitable representation for general daily articulated objects? We investigate a differentiable category-level articulated object representation. We represent articulated objects with separate codes for encoding shape and articulation. During inference, given an unseen instance, our model first infers the shape and articulation codes via backpropagation. With the inferred shape code, the model can generate shapes at unseen articulations by only changing the articulation code. We visualize generated shapes of holdout instances in multiple categories, selected from the shape-to-motion dataset. Each column shows the input and generated articulated shapes of different refrigerator instances. Note that for different instances, the door articulation axes are placed differently. The proposed method is able to model refrigerators with different kinds of door types using a single network. Similarly, for eyeglasses, given a single instance with some unknown joint angles, the temples can be articulated by only modifying the joint angle inputs. For different washing machines, as shown at the bottom, our method successfully captures different body shapes and generates valid articulated shapes. Recent works have made significant progress on using implicit functions as a continuous representation for 3D rigid objects. The representation is not restricted to any specific class and is end-to-end differentiable. Built on the top of implicit functions, Deng and others propose to model each human body part by a separate implicit function. However, the method is limited to instance level and requires part labels for the learning process. To understand articulated objects, another line of works propose to train deep networks for estimating per-part poses of an object instance in a known category. However, if we want to interact with the articulated objects, a 3D understanding of its geometry is necessary. Our work tackles all these challenges jointly. Note that unlike modeling human bodies or human hands where joint skeletons are consistent, our method doesn't assume any predefined joint locations and skeletons. We built our work on deep sign distance functions, where a sign distance is predicted for a random sampled point. To model articulated objects, our first insight is that shapes articulated from the same instance should share the same shape code, as illustrated with the brown staplers here. Shapecode sharing encourages that the shapecode only captures part geometry. To capture the articulation variances, we further input the model with articulation codes. The insight is that even though the shapes look quite different for different articulations of the same instance, A good representation should capture this variability in a low-dimensional space. Specifically, during the training stage, we first randomly initialize one shapecode for each instance and concatenate the shapecode with the sampled point. Then the concatenated shapecode and sampled point are input to a shape embedding network to form a shape embedding. To model articulation, each sampled point is also concatenated with the articulation code and passed through an FC layer to produce an articulation embedding. Then the shape embedding and articulation embedding are jointly input to another multilayer perceptron to estimate the sign distance. We name the combination of the shape embedding network and articulation network as the articulated sign distance function. If part labels are available, a linear classifier is added to the last hidden layer of the articulation network to simultaneously output part labels. As noted with the red color, shapecodes and articulated sign distance functions are jointly optimized during training. During the inference stage, given one shape, the articulated sign distance function parameters are fixed, and the shapecodes and joint angles as shown in red are jointly inferred via backpropagation. To generalize our model to out-of-distribution and unseen data, we further propose a test time adaptation step to adjust the model parameters during inference. For this test time adaptation, the idea is we update the parameters of the shape embedding network to better fit the observed instance. In the same time, the parameters of the articulation network, the inferred shape, and the articulation codes remain unchanged. Note that due to the separation of the shape embedding network and the articulation network, the disentanglement is still maintained when the shape embedding network is adapted. With the inferred shapecodes and updated shape embedding network, new shapes can be easily generated by only changing the input articulation. We task our model with reconstruction from real-world depth images. Given a single depth image, we project the depth back into 3D with known camera parameters. Then our trained model directly takes this noisy observation as input and outputs 3D shapes. We evaluate the results with chamfer distance, and quantitative results show that our method reconstructs better shapes than the baseline. Note that on top of reconstruction, our method can also generate new shapes with other unseen articulations. To study the shape completion power of the model, we also test our trained models on partial point clouds. The partial point clouds are generated from either one-view or two-view depth images. Visually, compared to the baseline, our reconstruction results preserve rich details. In both the one-view and two-view setting, our method outperforms the baseline by a significant margin. With more views, the model also benefits more from test time adaptation. Here, we also showcase our method against deep A-SDF in terms of interpolation. Given two observations on the left, we ask the model to generate the shapes in between. From the results, we observe that our method produces faithful interpolation results. The insight here is that our disentangled space ensures that the interpolated latent codes land on a valid shape space. To summarize, we propose articulated sign distance functions for modeling general daily articulated objects. We also propose a test time adaptation approach for better inference. With the disentangled representation, the proposed model has the ability to animate shapes. Our experiments show that the proposed model has strong reconstruction, interpolation, and extrapolation results. More interestingly, we show that the model can also generalize to real-world depth images. Our source code is available. For more information, please visit the following project page.